Welcome to Derry Community Television. My name is Suzanne Bernier Robinson. Today we're going to have an opportunity to learn about the Derry Friendship Center Run for Recovery. With me are Josh Borden, he's a counselor at large. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Eric Spofford of the Granite House.
Hey, hey.
Welcome. And Patrick Conway with Apple Tree Insurance, and also you are a board member of the Derry Friendship Center.
Trustee.
Trustee. Great, welcome.
Okay, thank you.
So Josh, I'm going to start with you because you are one of our counselors, and just ask, how did you get involved in the DFC Run for Recovery?
Thank you for, again, for having me. Well, it started with, I guess, doing research and meeting with, some of our department heads and various town officials, and just starting to pay more attention or closer attention to some of the problems that have been happening in our community with regards to drug and alcohol addiction. And, I'm a big proponent of taking action and doing something. And I thought of an idea to create a race designed to bring more awareness and generate some revenue for the Friendship Center here in Derry. Mm-hmm. And, from there, I reached out to Eric and had the privilege of meeting him and spending some time with him and learning more about his organization. And, we decided, I told him my idea, we partnered up on it, and, we'll go into it later, but it's really taken off.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think one of the things that I read in one of the local papers this week was a quote from you about young, old, retired business owner. It doesn't matter that the drugs and alcohol addictions, it doesn't discriminate. Something along those lines. I'm not gonna, it wasn't. But I'm like, that is so true. And there seems to be such a need in Derry with a lot of the heroin overdoses that have been happening that I'm not sure the public realizes how serious that has been, and all the other increases in alcohol and drug addictions in the past few years, that there's such a need for the Granite House and the services of the Derry Friendship Center. So Patrick, maybe you can tell us a little bit about the Friendship Center, Derry Friendship Center, how many years it's been in town, its mission, and kind of the services that you provide.
Okay, well, the Derry Friendship Center began in 1979, and two people got together. One of them, a retired PSNH manager and director, I think, at one point. His name was Arthur Mills, and he teamed up with another gentleman called Kenneth Briggs, and the two of them began noticing that there's difficulty, or there had been difficulty sometimes, in securing places for recovery groups such as AA, Al-Anon, Alateen. And so churches, as they continued to grow, found more use for their church basements. And so essentially people who were in recovery going to those meetings were being somewhat marginalized and pushed out of the facilities that they had in the past. So these two men, who were really forward-thinking at the time, thought it would be good to find a place that was a permanent location for meetings of that kind, devoted to recovery and the mission of having a safe place for people to meet, to talk about their issues and how to stay well in sobriety. So they formed that particular location on West Broadway, mm-hmm. Right on, as they would say, the main drag. And of course, at the time, smoking was quite the, there was no issues with smoking at the time. And so at breaks and what have you, you'd have people smoking outside and congregating on the sidewalks, which I suppose when you see a group outside doing that at one place, it has a tendency to make people a little nervous in passing down the street. So the the place originally was not exactly what you might call welcomed, and so the thought was at some point to find another location out of the way of the sidewalk area where people could pass without any problems. And so we found that recently and found a wonderful place on Railroad Avenue, 6 Railroad Avenue. And it's large enough to accommodate the number of groups that meet there weekly, 17 meetings a week.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's grown incredibly. In large part, and we're very happy to see this occur with the Granite House. Granite House residents now have available all of those meetings and can benefit from, you know, the efforts that the Friendship Center puts together in making sure that there are enough meetings and enough resources as well. It's not simply a meeting place. It has, if you go to the web page being, if you'll excuse my nearsightedness, www.the
Okay.
And if you go there, you'll find many resources as far as finding a rehab, as finding counseling. It's just a wonderful resource for people who are looking for those kinds of services.
Right. You mentioned that the residents of the Granite House are able to attend some of those.
Absolutely, walking distance.
Right. So tell us a little bit about the mission of the Granite House, the residents that you have there, and the wonderful thing that you're doing for these folks in need.
Sure, absolutely. Granite House is located downtown at 35 West Broadway. We're a 3-phase extended care sober living program for 18 to 35-year-old men. Our guys come from primary inpatient treatment centers and come to us to reestablish themselves in a transitional program back into society. Our average length of stay is 6 to 9 months. They have programming throughout the day. It's centered around the 12 steps, spiritual practice, prayer, meditation, accountability. It's very high accountability.
Sounds like a
all
around healthier living than
Oh,
from where
absolutely.
they've been coming. So
Yep.
it's not just you know, escaping maybe the town where they were involved in say drugs. That, you know, you're offering them the spiritual well-being too, which
Absolutely.
I think it's the whole person you need to look at.
Yeah, the recovery process is transformational, you know, from the inside out.
So how many residents do you usually have?
31 in-house, and then we also provide recovery services throughout the community as well.
So I think both your organizations serve more than just Derry residents, is that right? Are they people coming to the Friendship Center from, say, Chester and Londonderry?
The truth of the matter is I've met people in there from California, from Texas, from New York State. What has happened is it's an organic kind of process where you find people from this area, Manchester, Nashua, New Hampshire, basically. And these people move on. They gain a foothold in a sober life, and when they do, they move to other communities, other states. And when they get there, they meet other people who are moving into the Granite State. And when they move into the Granite State, they're looking for a safe place and a way of connecting. And the connection is the Derry Friendship Center because it's, strangely enough, it has some form, loosely I would say, but nonetheless a form of connecting people coast to coast, if you really want to think of it that way. So it's happened.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Now, Eric, with the Granite House, do you want to provide a website for people that may want to get more information on it? And
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, and as well as not just our website, which is www.granitehousesl, as in soberliving.com. But we also have an admissions department, so, you know, live guys answering the phone that take all sorts of calls. So if anyone's suffering from substance abuse or alcoholism or has a loved one, we get a tremendous call volume and help place people in appropriate programs, either ours or others, 7 days a week from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m.
I really like the idea that they're here for, they're really part of our community, and they're here for a good amount of time to be active members in our community. I think that's
Absolutely.
so positive to helping them get on their own
Yep.
again. It's such a struggle. Do your services incorporate working with the families of these residents?
It sure does. You know, we have case managers. The families are involved from the beginning, very beginning of the process, from admissions. We have intensive family program that we offer, as well as every other week on Wednesday nights we offer a supportive family group, as well as they'll hear from the staff at the Granite House and involve them in their son's recovery process, as well as help assist the family in their own recovery process, because they've been kind of down this path of addiction along with their loved one as well. You know?
And unfortunately, sometimes it's not the first time for them to try a program.
Absolutely.
And I know yours, I've heard, has had much success. So again, it's great that you're both offering this service to our residents that really need a resource like what you're offering. So with that said, there's obviously awareness that needs to come to your programs, and also funding that the Derry Friendship Center, I know, needs. So Josh, tell us a little bit about when the run is and where it is.
Yes. So again, the goal of the run was to bring two organizations who share a common bond, and that's people suffering from addiction. They are different types of addiction, but it's still there. And to connect them together, I found that through connection, more awareness and more financial benefits can come out of that. And the run is June 13th. It's going to be right here in Derry. It starts at 10 a.m. and it is online. I know you'll be posting the website after this. And it can be found on Facebook. I created a Facebook page for it. It's called DFC Run and the number 4 Recovery. So it's DFC Run for Recovery. Our goal, or at least my goal, is to raise $20,000.
Wow.
And we've already seen tremendous support from the sponsorship level as far as registration level. I know, go ahead.
I was going to say that's an ambitious goal for the first year, but I'm a runner, so that's wonderful. And you are using Millennium Mile or Millennium running services for the timing. So a lot of runners will recognize that as a very certified course, accurate timing, with chip timing. So you've really teamed up with a wonderful organization. Is it a 5K run?
It is a 5K race, and you mentioned how well it's certified and it's official. And I gotta mention the person who unfortunately couldn't be here, but really the person who made all of this happening. I mean, we went from idea phase to handing it over to a woman by the name of Tanya Torello, and she's been just tremendous. Without her, this is probably still sitting in our heads.
Okay, so she's coordinating.
Oh my, she's consulting,
event.
she's creating, she's done everything to make it from official from start to finish. She's just tremendous.
Right. So it is a 5K, which is 3.1 miles for the non-runners. But are you, Eric, can walkers participate? And
I actually wanted to
families?
jump in and say that it's not just a race. You can run, jog, walk, crawl, take a golf cart, do whatever you like.
What about, so strollers would be okay for families that want to push the children?
Strollers
or walk
are okay.
with a...
Yeah, I think the important thing, I mean, it is a very well put together race by Millennium. For the serious runners can benefit from that, but not losing focus of that we are raising money for the Derry Friendship Center, which also to make note of is free. The Derry Friendship Center
Oh.
does not charge money for anyone to go to meetings there. That's a free resource in the
That's a
community,
good-
which is incredibly important. I actually attended my first recovery meeting at the Friendship Center as just a young guy, probably 12 years ago.
Wow. Okay.
You know, so supporting them and supporting their mission as a nonprofit is the reason for it.
Right.
And so anyone that can come out, regardless of ability to run or whatever, and just show some support would be great.
That was a really good point to say that sorry I didn't mention that earlier, that your services are free for people to drop in.
Everything about the Friendship Center is pretty much free. All of the board members are voluntary. All of the people that take care of the detail of how to maintain it, it is voluntary. It's a community unto itself. Let's put it that way. And it's a wonderful way of seeing how things happen when people do care and get involved. So, yeah.
Josh, you and I were talking earlier before the show that 12 and under are going to be free, and anything over is a nominal fee.
Yep, and 12 and under are free. Anybody who is running or participating at some level above the age of 12, will be able to go to our website and register.
Okay,
So
great. They'll get a shirt and all the little goodies that generally come with the races.
Great looking shirt.
definitely.
Is it? Oh, good.
Yeah, we have a real nice shirt that's being designed and made. There's going to be cash prizes.
Oh,
So it's a real legit race. We're hoping to eventually, grow it into a bigger race, as well as a 10K and a 5K to attract even more people. I predict that this event is going to be here to stay, and my hope is that people who are affected or have friends and employees and loved ones who are affected will see that it's okay to come out and to have some positive outcomes in their life, and to really come out and share for one day, share their experience with everyone else through something positive like running or walking.
right. With the registration, you mentioned that's available online. Will you have race day registration, or
Yes.
you will? Okay, so there's no cutoff. You can show up. You said the race starts at 10?
Yep.
So maybe by 9 o'clock, show up, register, and hopefully there'll be shirts left. So I would encourage early registration if you want a shirt.
Right.
That's always nice to.
We will buy enough shirts so everyone gets a shirt. We are planning on, we've found out that whoever we are going to be going through needs at least a few days leeway time. So, we'll buy extra to make sure everyone gets what they deserve.
How many participants would you like to see come out?
Well, my goal is always going to be big. I'm a shoot for the
Good.
moon type of guy, but I think in our first year, I'd like to see 500. I
Okay.
think that would be amazing. Millennium has already said to Tanya that given the fact that the run is still 2 months away, I don't think they've ever seen a race where this many people have signed up. And the support on Facebook, DFC Run for Recovery, the support there is just, it's getting talked about every day.
Great.
Which is, it's
Well,
awesome.
it's a nice distance, especially for families to participate. So if you're getting, do you have a family rate too? If 3 or more from one family register, sometimes there's a special rate. But it's nice to encourage families, and it's a good distance. It starts at Pinkerton. Okay. Do you know the course? To describe a little bit.
I've run the course before.
You have.
Oh,
So
yeah,
describe the
yeah.
course to us.
It's a run. It's a real run. You're
Okay.
going up 102 or Chester Road, which is uphill.
Which will be blocked to traffic,
Yeah,
right? Okay, so we'll make
absolutely,
sure the
yeah.
families know that.
Yeah, and then continued around a circle, heading back into Pinkerton. The last, I would say, the last 100 yards or more is uphill, so there's no rest for the weary. it's a good race. It's a really, really good route.
So it's a good race for a runner who wants to challenge themselves, but I would also say for families to set their own personal goals.
Sure.
Just like in recovery, you need to be realistic as to what you can achieve in a certain amount of time, and with families and kids in tow.
There is no shame as long as you finish.
Right.
Right.
We don't care.
Right, right.
Yeah.
That's the attitude to
Yeah.
have. We were talking about sponsorship opportunities too. Assuming you must have some different levels of sponsorships. So if a local business wants to step forward and support the run, they can do that. Is there a number that they can call or email?
Yeah, so you would just reach out to Tanya Torello, and her email is ttarallo@gmail.com. And I believe you'll be putting that up as well
Yes.
at the end of the program. And we've already seen tremendous sponsorships, not just locally in Derry, but there's companies in Massachusetts who have seen this on Facebook and taken an interest. I mean, we're talking big companies. Local sponsors like Benson's Lumberyard, Bachman's Towing, the Granite House, the Derry firefighters. You know, they see, unfortunately, you know, the other end of some of these calls when things don't go so well for someone who's addicted to drugs or alcohol. So they find it important to do the prevention thing and to create awareness. So my company, Core Medical Group, has committed at the platinum level, and they're taking it a step further, and they're going to be matching any of our employees who decide to run. So, I mean,
That's a nice challenge.
yeah, it's really cool. And the only thing really left to do is we still, for a very small fee, have space available on the shirts for local businesses who want to, you know, get their name on the front and the back of the shirt. So.
Okay, and that comes with a certain sponsorship level.
Yep.
Okay, so they can reach out to Tanya.
Yep. She'll fill them in on anything, any questions they have, or she does work full time, but she still is really great about getting back to you within a day or so.
What about a need for volunteers? Do you need people to help man the course?
At
the
this
water
point, I
stops?
think most of the volunteers will probably be coming from the Friendship Center.
Oh, good.
Because we have a lot of people who are very much interested. If they're not running, they're going to be assisting for sure. Yeah, so we have plenty. And I'm sure our friends at the Granite House would be more than happy to do the same.
As we always do.
Yes.
And I would just add, you know, for anybody else who might not have a specific duty on that day but wants to come out, I mean, I know the runners get a huge kick of adrenaline. There's nothing better than running a race and seeing, you know, a nice crowd at the finish line. So just by showing up, you know, our goal is to promote awareness. So if anybody has been affected by drug or alcohol addiction, you know, if you can't find a way to run or walk, you know, please come in and just clap or hand out water. Whatever you can do is going to help beat this thing and get back out in front of this thing.
And it'll be nice to see the community coming together, uniting for a common goal.
Right.
So before we close, I'd like you each to share, Patrick and Eric, and if you have one, Josh, too, but maybe a success story from the Friendship Center and from the Granite House of someone who has come full circle and that you can share. I've put you on the spot.
Well, it's not so much, but there is a certain level of anonymity. So
Oh, of course, yes. No
I
names need to be
would
mentioned.
say that there's a couple of people who stand out. I might also add that I'm at a roughly 38-year, or rounded off 40 years of recovery myself, so I've seen a lot in those 40 years. One of the people who I recall very vividly is a person who came to the Friendship Center, met there, got good advice from attending the groups that were there, managed to not only take care of his disease, but go back to community college, a 4-year college, picked up a master's degree, and is now in a very, I would say, important position with the state of New Hampshire. Not unremarkably so, but working for the community of recovery at the state level. And it's kind of interesting to see a man who was driving cab without any reference to the community he was driving in, because he was newly acquainted with with Derry, actually.
Okay.
And he had to use a map to see his way around Derry. And now he has a map for the entire state of Derry that he can use to guide people through that kind of recovery.
So he's really risen above any expectations, I'm sure, of what some people thought at the time when he first came to the Derry Friendship Center.
No, that was not his original goal.
Right.
But
it's
it's one of the blessings and one of the benefits of having support in the community for that kind of recovery.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm sure you can tell.
Oh, there's so many.
Yeah.
You know, there really is so many. It's hard to, and again, there's anonymity, so I can't name names or any of that. But in generality, we've just seen so many guys come to us broken and just starting to put the pieces back together, you know, getting out of a primary rehab and beginning the process at Granite House, and their families as well.
I was going to say,
you know, and see them become restored with their families. And I can't tell you how many moms and dads have thanked us for giving them their son back. You know, and some of the heroes that have come out of the Granite House that I'm proudest of, and there's so many that have done so many different things, but quite a few of them take a strong interest in working in the recovery field themselves. We have a collegiate program called Aspire, which when guys come in and get stabilized and get active in their recovery, a little further down the process in their stay with us, we have an educational consultant and case manager that comes in. We've partnered with Southern New Hampshire University, and guys take online classes and get back into their education. And what we've seen is a lot of them get back into the treatment field. You know, they get out, they stay sober, they stay active in their recovery. I mean, the majority of the staff at the Granite House are alumni from years ago. You know, and we have alumni of ours that work in almost every major treatment center throughout New England. You know, the guys,
makes sense.
They just get passionate, you know. Part of recovery is, you know, we don't come here to get ours and get good and leave. It's if you want to stay and keep what you got, you have to stay and give it back as well. And, you know, not everyone does that professionally. Most, it's a lifestyle choice, you know, that they do in their own recovery process for free and for fun. But for those that take it to that extra level and get involved, it's needed. You know, New Hampshire is 49th ranked in available services for addiction and substance abuse. So to put that into perspective, it means that there's 48 other states in this country that you are more likely to receive services per capita if you're a substance abuse person.
It's not a statistic we want to brag about.
No, it's not, but it's the cold hard truth that people need to know. And that's why it's so important to get out and support organizations like the Friendship Center and others and advocate for recovery and treatment, because we're in the middle of an epidemic, you know. And if you watch the news or read the paper, it's there every day, almost, about how bad the substance abuse has really hit this area, specifically heroin amongst our young people, you know. So
a reality check. Thank you for that.
Yeah, it's an important cause.
And you're right, it is.
Come out and support us, please.
Josh, I won't put you on the spot, but if you have
it's perfectly comfortable with talking about it. The thing that's been the best part about this, I've had the opportunity to work with some great people, Eric, Patrick, Tanya. I've had the opportunity to see local businesses, big companies from out of state coming together and showing their support. But the thing that's been most mind-blowing to me is since I've been promoting this race and the word's starting to get out, I mean, I've seen dozens and dozens of people who have just come out and said thank you, and then shared their story about themselves, about their loved ones, the good and the bad. And some of I've heard from politicians, CEOs, doctors, lawyers, I mean, from all walks of life, who will be comfortable to share their story with me and then talk about where their rock bottom and how far they've come. And it's just more evidence that you don't necessarily need to, you know, throw a ton of money at a problem. It helps, certainly, but the thing that helps the most is that honest help. You know, the people who are authentic in reaching out, and people who really care, and people who can communicate on the same level, helping one another. And it's happening here in this community, and you know, I couldn't be more proud of what this event is going to be. I think people are going to be really, really proud of themselves and surprised about how big this thing can get.
Right.
Too. So, and I really appreciate you know, allowing us the opportunity to meet and talk with you.
Well, I think it's important to bring an awareness to the services, the few services or that we offer, because there's such a need. And now that I know that statistic, it seems like we really need more here in Derry.
Yeah, I think Derry should really be proud that they are probably one of the main cities or towns that actively promote recovery. It didn't begin that way, but right now it just seems as though the town of Derry is on the right side of the ledger in terms of getting people involved and being positive about what this program and programs like this are all about. Really, it's great.
I think that
It's a compliment.
it is, yeah. And just people are realizing that it destroys families. And families make the communities. So you've got to fix it. I mean, it trickles all the way down to the young kids in school.
And more people are seeing it. You know, the media over the last few years has started covering the heroin epidemic more.
Right.
It's in the news all the time, the damage of it, and it's, you know, the widespread of the epidemic. It's almost everyone you talk to knows somebody. You know, or knows somebody that knows somebody. There's very few that you'll ever find that haven't been affected in some way by this disease.
Right. Well, thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Whether you're a runner or a walker or would like to bring the family out for a fun day, the Derry Friendship Center Run for Recovery is June 13th, a Saturday. It starts at Pinkerton, and again, we'll provide you the information following this show to be able to register. Once again, my name is Suzanne Bernier Robinson. Thank you for watching Derry Community Television.